Okay, I think what we want to do is we'll probably move items 18, 19 to consent, as long as nobody comes to speak against or for. We'll leave the rest of the agenda as is. We'll recess the study session and re-adjourn for the public hearing in 5 minutes at 6:10.
Chairman Christopher Sipple. Vice Chairman Brian Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Carl Bloomfield. Commissioner David Cavaney.
Here.
Commissioner Greg Froelich. Commissioner Brian Johns.
Here.
Commissioner Joshua Ayler.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Seth Bonda.
Present.
And Alternate Commissioner Daniel Cifuentes.
Here.
Is Sipple calling in? Okay. Okay, thank you. Next is item 12, approval agenda. It's been recommended that we move some items from non-consent to the consent items. Those items are item 16, DR 18-49, item 18, GP 17-1018, Hampton Court, item 19, Z17-1029, Hampton Court, item 20, GP 18-06, Terraza, and item 21, Z18-09, Terraza. Is there anyone here to speak on any of those items that were just read? Commissioner Ayler, can I get a motion, please?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion for the agenda.
Motion for approval, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Johns. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Approval passes. Communications from citizens. At this time, members of the public may comment on matters within the jurisdiction of the town, but not on the agenda. The Commission Board response is limited to responding to criticism, asking staff to review a matter commented upon, or asking that a matter be put on a future agenda. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the Commission on an item that is not on the agenda? Not seeing any, we'll move along to the public hearing consent items. All items listed below are considered consent calendar items and may be approved by a single motion unless removed at the request of Commission Board for further discussion action. Other items on the agenda may be added to the consent calendar and approved under a single motion. Okay, so we're going to pull 18 and 19 off the consent. GP 171018 Hampton Court. So the public hearing items that we will vote now are items 14, DR 18-28 Hawkins Design Group, item 15, DR 18-36 Pad C Commercial Center, item 16, DR 18-49 BWZ Auto Holding, item 20, GP 18-06 Terraza, item 21, Z18-09 Terraza.
Excuse me, Chairman, I had the items that were moved were 16, 18, 19, 20, and 21. Is that
Yeah, Catherine
correct?
just came up and said that we were pulling 18, 19 off, and someone's here to speak for it.
Okay. Are we pulling the other items as well?
No, just 18 and 19.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion for approve of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Ayler, second by Commissioner Johns. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No. Consent items are approved. We'll now move along to public hearing non-consent items. Non-consent public hearing items will be heard at an individual public hearing and will be acted upon by the Commission Board by a separate motion. During the public hearings, anyone wishing to comment in support or in opposition to a public hearing item may do so. If you wish to comment on a public hearing item, you must fill a public comment form in the back of the room, indicating the item number on which you wish to be heard. Once the hearing is closed, there will be no further public comment unless requested by a member of the Commission Board. The first item over here will be item 17, Z118-13, Bella Vista Marketplace. Stephanie.
Good evening, Vice Chair and Commissioners. Stephanie Bubenheim. This is for a rezoning case 18-13 for Val Vista Marketplace, also called Amend Ordinance Number 1097 Use Restrictions. So the site area is at the Val Vista Marketplace Shopping Center on the southwest corner of Val Vista Drive and Elliott Drive. This rezoning is only a portion of the center, which I have highlighted in red. So this is the Safeway parcel, which is not a part because it is under a separate ownership. And this bank parcel is also not a part because it is outside of the planned area development. So it's not within this PAD in the first place. For site context, the surrounding uses to the south and the west are SF6 for single-family homes, and that is the Val Vista Place subdivision. To the east across Val Vista is another shopping center with commercial uses in the SC zoning district. To the north is a neighborhood commercial, which is the vacant, used to be a Osco drug back in the day. And then also to the north is an SF7 single-family zoning district as well. And I also noted, because it pertains to this case, the Gilbert High School is about 2,000 feet away from property line to property line to the west. This is the zoning exhibit. To give a little background history on this site, in 1987, council adopted ordinance number 522, which rezoned 140 acres from agricultural to planned area development. It was called the Lacey Development PAD, and that was a much larger portion on that southwest corner of Elliott and Val Vista Drive. So in 1990, an ordinance number 660 was adopted to rezone that commercial portion right on that corner from the Maricopa County Rural 43 to the commercial C2 with the PAD overlay. And then over subsequent years, there were some design review boards approvals for the Safeway store and for phase 1, as this was completed in separate phases. In 1998, Town Council approved with rezoning case Z98-3, which was ordinance number 1097, an amendment to ordinance 522, which took a condition out of 522 and added a series of conditions for this site for the commercial project. And that is what's brought forth to you today. So the applicant, which is here tonight to discuss and answer any questions for you, there are some specific conditions on ordinance 1097 that at this point in time in current day zoning aren't as regulated, such as use restrictions. So one of the conditions proposed to be deleted is number 5 of that ordinance 1097, which prohibited a specific list of uses that primarily in the SC zoning district today are not regulated as not permitted. The only one that's not permitted right now under SC is that sexually oriented businesses. So everything else is currently permitted in SC if a new development site was to come in. The past reasonings behind this was primarily because of the school and the school district, and there was a lot of discussion about they didn't want any types of uses on this site that would attract high school students during school hours. So that was primarily the major reason behind these uses. Another condition proposed to be deleted is number 6, which is no rear, which is the west, or side deliveries, except for Safeway, which is already not a part of this rezoning request, should be made before 8 a.m. or after 6 p.m. for the shops A and B or any of the pad buildings. Currently, under the Land Development Code, we don't have any sort of delivery regulations, so the applicant is requesting this to be deleted so that it will go along with the current, whatever is the current Land Development Code. Number 8 of that conditions is also being proposed to be deleted, which is no pad use shall be allowed to be open for business before 6 a.m. or after 12 a.m. Currently, under the SC zoning district, there are no hours of operation limitations, so the applicant would also like to follow what current LDC limits apply, which would not be any sort of hours of operation. And the applicant will probably address this a little bit. There are some uses such as a Bosa Donuts that's currently on the site that usually their model is a 24-hour service, but at the moment they're restricted to that 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. because of this use over this shopping center. Staff has recommended approval of the deletion of those 3 conditions, and we listed all of the conditions that were in 1097, and the 3 are stricken through. So I won't read through all of those, but if you have any questions for me, I can answer them, or the applicant can come up.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for the staff right now?
So, Stephanie, what do you know? Well, are there any in any other? And this would be considered SC otherwise, right? This would be a shopping center designation.
Correct.
The land. Okay. And there are no hour limitations on any SC zone property in our code at all right now. Is that right?
For, under the standard code, no, the only limitations would be under any other ordinances.
Okay. Because the only thing I'm thinking, I don't have any trouble with any of the things that are being proposed, except I'm just cognizant of the fact that we're bounded by residences, right? And we're talking about letting them have rear deliveries and anytime. And if that's okay everywhere else and we're not seeing a big problem with that, then maybe it's fine. But I'm a little sensitive to the backup alarms and whatever else might happen if somebody's delivering in the middle of the night, prepping for a morning opening or something. So I guess that's the only concern I have. I'm anxious to hear any other thoughts that the other commissioners have, but otherwise it makes sense to kind of bring it in line with kind of the current restrictions. So.
Thank you. Is the applicant here, and would they like to make a presentation? If you can come up to the podium, you'll have 10 minutes. And just state your name and address, please, for the record.
Vice Chair and Commissioner, my name is Mike Gustafson. I represent Jabel Holdings. Our address is 12879 Harbor Boulevard in Garden Grove, California, and the zip code is 92840. The property, of course known as Val Vista Marketplace and anchored by Safeway, has been a thriving center in the community for approximately 20 years, and with it has seen a number of tenants come and go over time, and as such, the property, as we look at a few of the restrictions, specifically number 5, and the uses, we've had 2 restaurants prior to our purchase of the center that occupied a portion of the building that have come and gone, and the last was removed as a condition by the city due to this zoning use. So, it was originally a native New Yorker. It transitioned to the bar and grill, one of the original owners, to avoid a franchise use fee. And eventually, after 10 years of operations, the city noted, hey, there's a conflict with the zoning, and that use would no longer be approved. So in time, the lender, who owned the property at the time, moved a tenant into operation called Pizza Pie Cafe. They were a business that operated approximately 6 days a week and did not have an alcohol component to their business and simply did not make it in the center. And as such, we've continued to market the property with the idea to replace that restaurant that would help that side of the center with the current long-term tenants that are in play. The Cleaners has been there almost since day one. Taste of China has been there since the initial developer built the center, as has the nail salon. So a lot of long-term tenancy, but the opportunity to really increase their business level with additional patrons of the center that might benefit from a restaurant-type use. So we have attracted a number of restaurants that have a desire to be there, but the potential clause and the restriction tied to a percentage of liquor sales has caused this delay in occupancy and our desire truly to amend the current zoning to match that of similar centers in the area if the center was being rezoned today. Hours of operation and that change was really driven from the restaurant operator and not knowing if their primary deliveries could fall between those hours, and I truly do believe that they can, but because it's not a restriction in current zoning, we see this as the perfect time to correct the zoning to match the current in-place zoning that the city would afford to other properties in the area. And then, of course, the last restricted use for a pad building having hours between 6 a.m. and midnight is already approved, but in a particular instance, we have Bosa Donuts. As Stephanie mentioned, Bosa is a 24-hour operation. They typically prepare their foods in the evening hours, and as such, have staff that will be in the building. They would love the opportunity to be able to serve any patrons between the hours of midnight and 6 if it was possible. They have done this in other areas within Gilbert, and they do operate in a 24/7 position. Specifically, BOSA sees their patrons in a large influx around 4 a.m. And at 4 a.m., they are targeting the construction crews in an effort to provide their donuts to those crews as they head out to various parts of the valley to begin their day. So for them, it's a critical part of the operation and an opportunity for them to capture that market in that locale if afforded the opportunity. And again, the change would only meet that of the other SC zone properties in the town. It's not a restricted use in those other properties. So I'm available if you have questions, Vice Chair or Commissioners, I'm here to help.
All right, thank you. I do have a comment card here from Karen Parker, who would like to come and speak. Karen, if you'd like to come up, please. You'll have 3 minutes. And again, if you just state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Karen Parker. I live at 1488 East Spur Avenue, Gilbert, 85296. I'm an original owner in that neighborhood. I've seen things come and go. I have patronized many, or if not all of them. We like the fact that there is a shopping center on that corner. I should also say I'm the president of our HOA, and we've had many discussions about that shopping center. We've had many complaints about restaurants that don't close their trash lids, and then neighbors have chicken bones in their backyards, and other disgusting things like that, flies and birds and things like that. And the shopping center has not always been very reactive in a positive way to our concerns. As a neighborhood, we are very concerned about the 24-hour delivery. That's one of our main concerns. The entire the whole shopping center borders our neighborhood. I think people that are in favor of something like a Cogburn's coming in are liking the fact that there's going to be a restaurant there that serves alcohol. I want to go on the record saying I don't have any problem with that. What I do have a problem with is the hours of operation and being so close to the high school, being an overflow kind of area for people that are going from other drinking kind of establishments and then ending up in our neighborhood shopping center to kind of have a donut in the middle of the night or do whatever, and they already have had alcohol. I would like to say that Cogburn's is one of the restaurants that was proposed to be in that site. We frequented both restaurants that are really close. One of them, one of the waitresses described the restaurant as a dive bar, and the other one that we went to was a different kind of atmosphere. But even when we were in the parking lot, the music was loud. People were playing cornhole in the parking lot, and it was loud. And I don't live in a house that borders that shopping center. I live a little further in the neighborhood, but I am very cognizant of the fact that that kind of restaurant could really adversely affect people's use of their property. And as a property owner in the neighborhood, president of the HOA, I feel like it's my duty to kind of say that we're not happy about this major change in the zoning. It's not like a little tweak. It's a major change, and we're not happy about that. Am I okay on time? I would like to also remind people that we are right down the street from the high school. Our park has been a place where sketchy behavior takes place because it's right by the high school. It's been a hangout for lots of things. We've had to just trim a bunch of bushes because sketchy things are happening there. We don't want to be a place where people are drawn to in the middle of the night to do sketchy things. It's a neighborhood shopping center. It shouldn't be a place where people are hanging out in the middle of the night.
Actually, your
I
time
guess-
is up.
Okay, that's all I want to say. So thank you for listening.
Thank you for your time, I appreciate it. Mitch Marquardt, did I pronounce that? Probably not, if you could just correct me when you get up to the podium. And again, you'll have 3 minutes as well.
Thank you. Hi, you were close. It's Mitch Markward. So thank you. I'm at 1258 East Palo Blanco Way in Gilbert, also in the Val Vista Place neighborhood right behind Safeway. And I'm also on the board, HOA board. I'm an original resident back when that corner was a cotton field. I'm proud to be in Gilbert, love it, raised our family here. The issues I have, in addition to what Karen spoke about, which I do agree, regarding everything from the park to the school to the hangouts to the issues, is that the current restaurant, which I've eaten there, and it's a reasonable restaurant, is that the current one that's close to us is on Warner and Cooper, only 4 miles away. In my opinion, it's too close as far as our neighborhood goes to run another restaurant of the same. But as far as the reasoning behind lifting 5, 6, and 7, as far as a ban goes, we brought up in our neighborhood discussion with the current landowner that maybe we can work some kind of a negotiation. Does it have to be a 50% profit margin? Why can't it be a 30 or a 35 as is? And it sounds like they want to go full bore with everything versus working out some kind of an issue or working out some kind of compromise. I agree that there could be potential issues with people over drinking. I'm not a fan of that. Also, the corner, like the Val Vista Place neighborhood, Finley Farms, the neighborhood behind the old Osco, is a quiet neighborhood and a reasonable corner. And I think maybe establishments like this should be in a different area, like downtown Gilbert or over on Williams Field and the Pecos area, and not necessarily in the neighborhood right near our high school or other Finley Farms like grade schools. So as far as a resident concern and family, I think maybe a place like that and lifting some of the restrictions we've had in the past would be an error. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time. Does the applicant want to come back up and address any of the points that were discussed? And you'll have 5 minutes.
Thank you for the opportunity to return and to hopefully clarify. The types of uses in restaurants specifically, as two of the neighbors had mentioned in a concern for a particular name, we've had multiples of opportunities of restaurants that have elected to turn down the location because of their ability to have the alcohol component. It has in the current use restriction a derivative no more than 30% of the gross income from the sale of alcoholic beverages. That restriction is in there, and what most restaurants see as a concern is, what if it's 35%? What if it's 40%? But it could be 20%. They're not willing to invest the types of dollars that we would require to convert the older restaurant into a new restaurant, regardless of the types of food, whether it's Mexican or chicken or other types of sit-down restaurants that have that opportunity. Most of them are more driven by the restriction, the restaurants that were there in the past, and the difficulty that the restaurant had to succeed with these limitations. We're not as concerned about item number 6, which were deliveries after 6 p.m. but before 8 a.m. Most of the existing tenants that we've spoke to don't see that as a concern. We just knew that that current stipulation was not in the SC zone in other parts of Gilbert, and it seemed odd that this one was. But if we were to concede, I have no problem removing item number 6 from our request, because it will not affect the restaurant that we've agreed to lease to, and it should not create a complex, difficult situation within the center for the other tenants that have been there for years. And again, the pad operation by Bosa Donuts and their desire to attract that go-to-work construction crew side, or the ability to serve donuts when they're there cooking already, is the only reason we're talking about the hours of operation specifically on the Pad E building as where Bosa is. So we've reached out to our neighbors. We've tried to listen. In the neighborhood meeting, I personally handed my business card to everybody that wanted it and told them if they had an issue to please contact me directly, either at our office, my cell number's on it. I didn't get a single phone call. So we are responsive. We have not been the original, we were not the original developer. We were not the owner. There's been 2 other owners in time. Jabel has owned the center for approximately 2.5 years. And during that time, I've not had a single homeowner pursue us for an issue related to our tenants. So we're a stand-up group. We own other properties in Gilbert and Phoenix. Even though we have a California address, we all grew up in the valley, and we see this as an important place where we want to be, live, and operate. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them in any way.
All right, thank you. Does anybody on the commission have any questions for the applicant or staff? Commissioner Ailer.
So I guess I have a question on the restaurant. If we struck as an idea of the 30% and just left restaurant, because restaurants could go up to a certain percentage by state law, whatever the state law percentage would be, would that be acceptable as a restaurant use looking?
I just need to ask our operator, which is here tonight, how that works. Their concern was if we put a limitation as a percentage, what triggers an accounting audit? What if it became, the number you pick is 50%? I'm just picking a number, and they sold 51%. What does that mean?
Yeah, so I guess my thing is not to put a percentage, leave
Okay.
it to the state law.
Sure.
But leave the bar, strike the bar and cocktail lounge, because a bar is different than a restaurant when it comes to state law and the liquor license.
So let me clarify that. I'll just need just a moment. So our restaurant has what they call a number 12 license, which allows both the food and the liquor. If it was just a cocktail lounge, it would require a number 6. We're not asking for a number 6. It's just the 12 that allows that liquor component, of course, with the food.
Right, so, okay.
We
I'll
would
leave
be
it for
okay. We would be
discussion.
okay with that.
Okay. And then I guess the other question, I guess, and maybe staff could answer it, is the pad buildings for number 8. So this stipulation of business hours is only for the building pads, not the shop buildings?
It was for all of it. But
Commissioner Ayler, this striking out number 8 would be considered for all of these sites highlighted in red. So
Okay.
it will, the only site that's not affected would be the Safeway site.
and they don't have it already.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I just needed clarification. Thank you.
Do you want me to sit down?
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Johns.
Just to clarify that, how did Native, was this stipulation in place when Native was in there? So it was just oversaw?
It was for both Native and the subsequent operator that became Bar and Grill. So this operated with the liquor component for more than 10 years until the city identified that, hey, this is a conflict with 1097. And so when we started approaching operators and interest to replace the third operator, Pizza Pie, we realized there was actually a zoning conflict, but never knew it when we bought the center.
Okay, so, I know you've only owned it for 2 years, but Native basically wasn't audited. Is that the reason why Native left, which was a very sad day for me?
That was our understanding.
That's the understanding. I don't know the exact reason for why they left.
Okay. Yeah, this is actually my Safeway. That's where I pick up my donuts for construction meetings, so I'm very familiar with the, and it is sad to see, I'll make my statements for later, but it is sad to see how many turnovers they've had with the restaurant now.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, Stephanie, clarification once again. So are there other pads in Gilbert that are operating under these restrictions that are housing or leasing out businesses of what these applicants are seeing? Do we know?
Commissioner Vanda, this ordinance 1097 is specific to this site,
Specific to the
but
site.
for similar areas, the only other that I know off the top of my head that has use of restrictions and a lot of conditions in their ordinance is off of Warner and Val Vista, I believe, on the corner, on the northwest corner, the Fry's Shopping Center.
Okay, so the majority of the other areas in Gilbert are not operating underneath these same restrictions?
Correct. This one's, the 1097 is site-specific
Right.
to this marketplace, and it's common practice nowadays to not have use restrictions in ordinances.
But just once again, for clarification, those use restrictions were not really being enforced up until a couple of years ago? Is that what the history is showing?
Correct, for the
Okay.
native New Yorker.
Thank you.
Wow. I don't know if we could, I'll leave it at that. But there, I guess other shopping centers have restrictions, they're just not done this way. So other have stipulations they have to follow. It's just done in a different action than following an ordinance like this.
Commissioner Ayler, you are correct, and there are also usually CCNRs on top of that that are outside of the city's jurisdiction that are regulated for shopping centers.
And we have that as well.
Any other questions? All right, well, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you both for your time. Any discussion? Or anybody want to lead off the discussion?
Yeah, I'll lead it off a little bit. I don't frequent this center as much. I live down the street, but I go to a different one down the street. And it's probably because there is a lot of turnover in this shopping center versus other shopping centers. So I definitely see it's a little challenged. So I'd see some lifting of some of the more restricted uses. I have a little, having Gilbert High School nearby and then a bunch of residents to the rear reminds me of another site that we had with a smoking bar and cooking, and they were cooking and you could smell everything from the neighbors to the side and to the directly behind the center without the buffer. So I have a little worry of fully lifting all the restrictions that were probably fought for when this was originally developed. I do see trying to allow a restaurant with normal uses and having it what would be by state law the percentages. So if we were to move forward and just release the percentage completely and leave it to what the state law sets for the liquor license. But I would like to see some discussion if we have any viewpoints on the pad use. I think the pad buildings themselves, I would have no problem because they're all separated from the residents, and I could see it being very beneficial, but I wonder how that would work with a 24-hour business on the shop buildings that are attached to Safeway. But I know we're looking at this as one site as a whole, so I guess I'd see if there's any discussion upon that.
Yeah, so this is, I appreciate all the comments, very helpful, very insightful, and all the questions. Very simple for me. I'll make it quick. Here's what I think. I think we take the offer to take number 6 back regarding deliveries. I think that's fair. It helps the residences not have the backup alarms or any risk of that at any time. And if it's not any skin off the developer's nose or owner's nose, then I think we take it back. I think to Commissioner Ayler's comments, if we can somehow stipulate that the restaurant bar component, in other words, the number 12 license, as you mentioned, is what we're achieving instead of the number 6 license, then I think we can make that work. I think we make that work, and I recommend approval of the rest of the request, the removal of the other stipulations. I think what that does is it does allow the current operators, including BOSA, to continue their operation. They're not allowed operation unless Brian makes noise when he gets there in 5. I don't know, but anyway. So I think that helps the residences not have the delivery issue, but it still makes the development viable and lively and keep going. And then it doesn't, I think the restaurants are going to probably close more at a regular hour than if it were a bar that would close, you know, at, what, 2 or 3 or whatever they close. I don't usually hang out that late at them. So anyway, yeah, I think that's probably the right solution for the mix if we can find a way to craft that here.
Any other comments? Commissioner Johns?
So, yeah, as I noted, my neighborhood's just right across the street. We're back over on the other side, and I do spend a lot of time here. My wife drags me out shopping at this location or has me stop on my way in from work. So like I said, I'm very familiar with and it does sadden me to see that there is a hardship on a center like this that is not put on other locations. I remember when this neighborhood wasn't even in there, and we'd drive over to Gilbert High to go play racquetball with my friends. I mean, there's around. It's a very long time, and I saw your development grow up in that time. I remember when there was actually a native New Yorker there, and it didn't seem to. It brought life into that center. Right now, you go there at 8 o'clock, that center is completely dead, and everything, the parking. This thing's not working very well, but everything to the parking to the south of the Safeways, there's nothing in it, and they even shut down that south entrance into the Safeway and make you go through the north entrance because there's no activity. It's a dead zone, and I hate to see any kind of hardship come in our neighborhood like that. That actually gives us blight and death in the long run. There is no access unless you go around the south side of the center or north side of the center. There's no walkways or anything that I'm aware of, unless there was something next to the pie place. I think they blocked that off though to get from one side to the other. So all the activity is faced towards Val Vista Road, from what I've seen. Going through the stipulations on this, I agree with the other chairman that number 6, if he's willing to put that one back on the table, but I'm willing to support this as it is, and if he wants to put 6 back on, that's fine too.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty much willing to leave. I mean, we can talk about 6 or not, but basically strike everything is struck, but leave the bars and cocktail lounges off, just because vicinity, and it allows restaurants to have their full liquor and alcohol component, but not driving to have a bar there. And so, but I think everything else, I don't have a problem with. I think Boso, I go to the other Boso that's open 24 hours, so I think they should have the same right on that side. And then 6, if we can strike it or not, I don't know if someone else wants to make a motion, but I'll make a motion if anybody else wants to add anything.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. On the staff recommendations, are we leaving them as is, or are we allowing some of them to come back?
I would recommend we take 6 back, right? So we don't strike 6, and that we modify 5, whatever sub-bullet that was regarding the liquor.
The first bullet. Well, just leave the first one there and then strike everything below it.
All right, so 5 will read, the
The
following
bar.
uses shall be permitted as,
I
shall be
suppose, yeah, unless
prohibited.
you wanted to somehow stipulate the number license scenario, if that helps clarify it, but.
I don't think we want
No,
to get into
okay.
that. Yeah, I think that would cause some legalities if we stipulate how many
Got it,
licenses
okay.
can get
And
on
if that
something.
changes, I suppose that'd be a problem, right? Okay, so we still leave bars and cocktail lounges as restricted, but everything else is lifted. Okay, I'm okay with that.
Is everyone else agreeable with that?
Is it possible to have the applicant talk about it before he comes back up?
I've already closed the public hearing, so I'd like to just kind of keep it up to the dais and see what we can do. But I guess if the applicant and what you're hearing, if you want to get a thumbs up or a thumbs down, if you're agreeing to what you're hearing, he gives a thumbs up. Is that good for you?
That's good.
All right, thank you. All right, so Commissioner Ayla, it sounded like you were on a roll with a motion. I'll let you keep going with it.
So I'd like to make a motion for approval for item number 17Z 18-13 with some modifications to the staff report. Modifying item number 5, unstriking bar and cocktail lounges and leaving it as a prohibited use and removing the uses, the restrictions for all other uses in item number 5. And unstriking item number 6 and leaving it as a stipulation. And item number 8, continue striking and allowing the use of business operations 24/7. As noted in the staff report for approvals.
We all have that?
Yeah, I do have a question though, if I can pause this just for a second. So on item number 5, this is more for staff, on the things that are that are striked out, if you will. Is there able to leave something that can't put something that back in there, if that makes sense? So I mean, my concern is with the high school, the sexually oriented businesses. I'm going to assume that people are not going to apply. This doesn't seem like the market, but I just would like to see that as one of the striked items.
Chairman, Vice Chair Anderson, and Commissioner Banda, I believe in Stephanie's presentation, she did say that sexually oriented businesses would not be allowed in this location under the current LDC.
Okay, well, yeah, and I just saw, I heard her say that, but I'm just seeing it in this report as one of the striked items. I just want to, for record, make sure that that's the case. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and so with that understanding, I will second that motion.
I was going to do that.
Okay, so we got the motion from Commissioner Ayala, seconded by Commissioner Cavaney. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Recommendation moves. We'll move along to item 18 and 19, GP 171018 Hampton Court and Z 171029 Hampton Court. This was originally intended to go on consent. It was pulled off mistakenly. So if you want to do a real Cliff's Notes version of this, Ashley, we'll go through procedures real quick and get this one off our plate.
Will do, Vice Chair. So GP 171018 and Z 171029 is Hampton Court. You saw this in study session a couple of months ago. It's located at the northeast corner of Val Vista Drive and Ray Road. Between Ray Road and the subject site is SRP-owned property, so it's actually just north of that intersection. The request before you tonight is on 6.95 acres. It is a general plan amendment from residential 0 to 1 dwelling units per acre to residential 8 to 14 dwelling units per acre, as well as a rezone from Maricopa County Rural 43 to multifamily low with a PAD. I should note that this is being processed concurrently with an annexation that will go before Town Council at the same time as this rezoning request. So again, on the general plan, they are looking for that modification to 8 to 14 dwelling units per acre. Staff does note that to the north and south is the existing designation of 0 to 1 dwelling units per acre. However, those two locations are not developed residentially. To the south, again, that SRP site, and to the north is a charter school. In terms of general plan conformance, staff and the applicant both believe that this conforms to the general plan, the intent of that. They've provided a pedestrian linkage as encouraged by our general plan to that SRP canal. Our general plan encourages appropriate locations for multifamily. We do believe, given the surrounding land uses, this is appropriate location for multifamily development, especially given the unique shape of the subject site. And the fact that it is an infill parcel. And the general plan also encourages a variety of housing types. This is quite unique, not something offered in the town of Gilbert, so we certainly think that it meets that policy. In terms of the zoning, the applicant is seeking multifamily low with a PAD. There are a number of deviation requests associated with this. And I think I'll go over those in a moment. They are also proposing a development plan with this. As you can see, it's accessed from Val Vista Drive. That's really their only opportunity to access the site, with a street that runs the length of the property, with the individual homes accessing off of that private drive both to the north and south. In terms of the deviations, staff believes that this really is a true give and take in terms of the PAD request. They are proposing limiting themselves to 1 story in height. They've increased their front building setback to 50 feet while reducing both their side and rear setbacks. They're proposing an increase in their front landscape setback again to 50 feet with reductions in their side and rear setbacks from 20 down to 6 and from 20 in the rear down to 10. In terms of their open space, this is where we see, I guess, kind of the largest deviation. They are proposing a significant increase in their private open space from 60 square feet as required in the code to up to 1,100 square feet for their 3-bedroom units. And where that really kind of meets that give and take that I talked about was in their common open space. They are requesting a decrease in their common open space percentage from 45% down to 25. However, as you kind of do the math, it ends if you're combining their private open space with their common open space, we come out to that 45%. So in terms of that give and take, they're really providing more private open space for their residents in this unique product that they're providing. And then they are looking to remove the requirement for a pool for their facility, but they're increasing the area of their child's play equipment. They're proposing, as we talked about in the study session earlier in the agenda, this really unique kind of cottage feel. It's multifamily, intended to feel more like single-family living. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Staff is recommending approval of both the general plan amendment and the rezoning application with conditions of approval.
Thank you, Ashley. Any comments or questions for staff? All right, I think we're good. Is the applicant here, and do they wish to speak? Just so you know, I don't have any of the comment cards for anybody that wants to speak against this case. So if you would like to speak, yeah, All right, so we're good? Okay, we'll close public hearing. Any comments, discussion? No? Anybody want to make a motion? No, Okay, is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion of approval of item 18. Well, we have to make a motion for individually. So motion for item number 18, GP 17-1018, Hampton Court, as noted in the staff report.
Motion to recommend approval. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
We'll give that one to Commissioner Banda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. GP 17-1018 moves.
So I'd like to make a motion for approval of Z 17-1029 Hampton Court, as noted in the staff report.
Motion for recommend approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Banda for the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Z 17-1029 moves. Thank you. Move along to admin items. Planning Commission minutes. Consider approval of the minutes of the study session and regular meeting of June 6, 2018. Is for Commissioner Ayler, would you like to make a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from, I don't have do you have the exact date on there?
June 6, 2018.
For June 6, 2018.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Approved. Report from chairman and members of the commission on current events. I have nothing. Anybody else? Nope. Report from council liaison.
Hi, Commissioners. How are you? I hope you're able to stay cool in these hot summer days and make it through monsoon season. I just wanted to share with you that, as you know, Linda Edwards left us. She's been gone 2 weeks tomorrow, officially, and is enjoying retirement from what I've heard from Catherine. She already texted her to kind of rub it in this past Monday. So now we have Catherine serving as the interim planning services manager, and we have Amy serving as the interim principal planner as we move forward, and we'll see how that works out. And we'll also be adding another staff member that can't start till the end of the month, the end of July, right? Correct, thank you. that Amy is very much looking forward to getting that person started. If you haven't noticed, it's election season. You might have seen some signs on some corners in the community. They're obnoxious, I know, everybody hates them, I know, me for one, even though my face is on them. It is election season here in Gilbert. Early ballots will drop on August 1st. I just want to remind people that if you are a registered independent in Arizona, you cannot vote unless you request a ballot for a party for the primary. So please do that now before the end of July and make sure that you're able to vote on August 28th. And thank you for your service, and I'll see you in August.
All right, thank you. Report from Planning Services Manager, Catherine.
Good evening, Commissioners. I just had a couple items to update you on. In June, the council did approve our consultant services contract with Michael Baker International, and so they will be doing our general plan update. So we will be kicking off that process very soon. And with that, there will be a couple of meetings in October and November where the Planning Commission will actually have 2 meetings that month. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that in October, not only will you have the October 3rd meeting, but you'll have an October 24th where we have to do a second meeting off-site for any major general plan amendments, and we have 2 of those applications that are in process right now. And for the general plan update, in November, you'll have your normal meeting on November 7th, and then November 13th, we'll be doing a joint meeting with the town council, and one of the topics will be the general plan update. So I just wanted to get that on your radar, and you'll see invites coming for that. And thank you for your service and guidance this evening. That's all I have.
I was just looking at my calendar. I just happen to be on vacations those 2 weeks. Just kidding. Yeah, I'm planning them as soon as I get home. All right, with that, we'll adjourn the public hearing. Go back to study session. Do we want to take a break, or do we just want to keep going and get this over with? All right, we'll keep going. And so DR 1889 Little Sunshine's Playhouse. Stephanie?